Hello everybody. So today we're going to talk about the anti-radiation missile, its uses, the mission that it's used for, and how it works. So, what is an anti-radiation missile? Well, an anti-radiation missile is used to be able to seek out and destroy surface-to-air missile radars. This is done by essentially hunting for the radar emission of the specific radar, so that way we can essentially find and hopefully kill the radar. The reason why is because unlike here on the training range, where we know where every SAM system is, usually you don't know where they are. In which case, that means that the most that we will get is a rough bearing direction from our RWR, and possibly a smoke plume when it gets launched at us. So, with only these two things, we need something that can essentially be able to track down and find and be able to prosecute these radar emissions. And this is where the anti-radiation missile comes in. Missiles like the Shrike, the Standard Arm, and the Harm are your anti-radiation missiles. These missiles are specifically purpose-built to detect and find your radiation source. Typically this is done by a harm code, or with the Shrike by listening for a specific tone given off by the radar emitter that you are firing it at. But in this case we're using the harm with an HTS system. Now the HTS system allows us to narrow down the specific area of where the SAM site is located quite to a very accurate coordinate set, one that we can even use to drop bombs on. However, it is also useful in being able to feed the harm data live to where SAM sites are, in case we don't have preset coordinates for them. Otherwise, we would have to use the harm as sensor, to essentially use the harm sensor to be able to find radar emitters and select that emitter and then fire on that emitter. So in this case, we are going to go after an SA-3, and we're going to hopefully be able to destroy it with our anti-radiation missile. Now, in this case, we've already fired off on an SA-11, and we have one missile left. So, what we are going to try to do is we are going to try to get the emitter to emit. We will then have to keep the radar emitting, because in order for the harm missile to do its job, it needs the radar to emit, or otherwise, if the radar turns off, it no longer has the guidance to be able to track the emitter to where it is. In this case, because the DCS AI is really simplistic, they will not really try to turn off the radar unless you get into a no-shoot solution. So essentially when we are outside of their engagement range, or we are turning cold and are close to the limit of their engagement range. Now this is the DCS default AI. If you're playing on a server with an IAD script or something else, they will actually be clever and try to turn the radars off to avoid getting shot at. So in this case, we will need to keep the radar emitting, and if it turns off, there's two possibilities. Either it got destroyed by the harm, or it decided to turn off due to self-protection. Now, when this happens, we have essentially suppressed the system, because we don't necessarily know if the harm has hit or not. The only time that we really know it has hit is if we place ourselves in a possibility of getting shot position, and the radar doesn't decide to turn on for an extended period of time. So in this case, we are probably going to get a good lethal shot on this SA-3 here in a moment. Now, what the mission type that we are doing is called suppression of enemy air defenses, and this is because if the radar turns itself off, it is essentially null and void. It's unable to track a target It's unable to track a target with its radar and unable to prosecute that target with its missiles. So in that case, we have essentially kept the radar and suppressed it from being able to engage other air threats. In this case, us. So we just fired our harm. We're now going to turn offset. Make certain we have enough speed. Just tap. See, there's the missile trail.
Altitude, pull up, pull up.
There's the brake lock. And SA3 is possibly scratched. So, that is what the HARM missile is built and designed to do. And in the next video, we will be talking about how I did what I just did with a single ship seed engagement and how you do that and hopefully survive. Anywho, hope this helps, and I will see you in the next video.